Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to this episode of Lessons in Savvy Living. I'm your host, Sia Knight, and I am the CEO and founder of 40 Something Savvy. So, as you all know, with Lessons in Savvy Living, I have a woman who comes on every episode to share real stories, real lessons. So, real women, real stories, real lessons. And this time, I'm so happy to be able to introduce someone I've known for a bit of time now. I would say about five or so years. It's been a long time. And even though her last name is Knight, we are not related. But I am going to let Jamie Newton Knight introduce herself to you by telling us three things that people should know about you. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Sia, for having me. Again, my name is Jamie Newton Knight. I'm most known for Blended Black Family, but I am now restructuring things and I am called the Motherhood Mastery Mentor.
Ooh.
And I help women take charge of their lives, balance their families, and co parent with ease. So, those are three things that people should know about me.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So that's great because I thought of you when I came up with the topics for this current iteration of Lessons in Savvy Living. And I said, listen, I want to have a variety of different topics that we can learn from and that we can share. And I said, when I have someone to talk about blended families, I am going to ask Jamie Newton Knight to come on the show. Yay!
Thank
And
you.
yes, and thank you for saying yes. So, Jamie, what is your story around blended families? What you know about this?
Wow, girl. So I never, you know how you look back on your family after some time. So I never look back on my family, but we've been blended for a very long time. Um, I remember growing up and my grandmother actually introducing me. She's like, "Yeah, this is your grandmother." And I'm like, "How? Like, my dad's mom is this one, and you are my mom's mom. So how is she my grandma too?" And it was my grandfather's new wife. So we
Oh.
used to call her grandma as well, which I never thought about a second thought about it. We always grew up, we knew who she was, we knew who our extra aunts were, and that was what it was. In my own family, my mom, my siblings and I have different fathers, so we're blended in that way as well. But for my personal family, I have two older children from previous relationships, and I have two younger children with my husband, who I've been married to for 10 years now. Well, this year will be 10 years. And so, wow, my son's, I always mention my daughter's father because we were together for such a short time. And we were teenagers. It was a teenage pregnancy. So I mentioned that, but because there was no real relationship in it, I don't talk about that aspect of it. However, with my son's dad, we were together for 7 years. We were literally on the verge of getting married. And when I say on the verge, I mean 3 months before our wedding, I found out that he was cheating.
Mm.
And so, boom, the world it blows up. And in my world, I felt like the world blew up. The rug was pulled from under my feet. And I felt like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? I've been with this man for 7 years. We have a son together. Our daughter, my daughter now looked at him as an extra parent because she's known him since she was 2 years old. So from two until she was 7 or 8. So it was just like, oh my goodness, like, what are we doing? What do we do now? Um, and so I honestly felt like my world had blown up and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I took some time for myself, to myself. Like, I was like, 2 years, I'm not going to date. I'm going to be celibate, and I need to get this thing right. And I just started doing a lot of inner work on myself, and it started to help me be able to co-parent better. So I had to learn tools on making our co-parenting relationship better. So I'm the person that I blend with the most, or the family that I do a lot more co-parenting with. My daughter's 26 now. So we do have a relationship, her father and I and his wife and their family. We do have a relationship and it's fine. But the one that I'm interacting with the most is my son's father, and that's because we were together for so long. Our families are connected. My mom still calls his mom. We still do barbecues together. Like, we celebrate the kids' birthdays together and stuff like that. But of course, it took a lot of work to get there. After being with a person who told you, who 3 months before the wedding you found out they cheated, you don't really want to have a relationship with them. And I definitely didn't want to have a relationship with her because I felt like she knew he was with somebody and she still messed with him anyway.
Mm.
So the relationship between us was rocky from the start. So we had to get to that place of where we are now, where we do cookouts together and we celebrate each other's kids' graduations together. But it was definitely not an easy road getting there.
And so is that who he ended up with?
Yes, he did. He married her.
Mm. Okay, well, wonderful. I'm a fan of marriage and I'm a fan of love, so I'll leave it at that. So,
Yes.
what's interesting about your story, Jamie, and I love these interviews because I get to learn more about the guests that I have who are my friends who I know. I get to learn more about their stories because I actually didn't know that side of your story. I knew
Yes.
your side as being the new partner, the new spouse, the stepmom, or
Right.
yes. So, but I didn't know because there are two different dynamics at play. There's the one when you're the mother, and then the child's other parent enters in a new relationship, and then there's you're in the new relationship and you're dealing
Yes.
with the child. So I did not know that that was kind of your experience on both sides. I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yes. 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 It's, like I said, quite an interesting road. See ya.
Yes. So, and I know it led you to want to work with women, and usually in particular, who are dealing with issues as being a part of a blended family. What are some of the top issues that you saw people having to deal with?
A lot of the issues stemmed around communication. Like, people just couldn't communicate properly. It was almost as if one side felt like they were communicating what they needed and the other side wasn't receiving it, or people were not respecting each other's boundaries. I know that happened for us in the beginning of our relationship. Um, it was a lot of overstepping boundaries, and it literally took me sitting down with her to say, listen, I'm his mom,
Mm,
you are that guy's wife, right? So I'm not going to come and tell you guys what to do in your relationship as husband and wife, but this is his child and my child. When he's at you guys' house, I'm sure that there's going to be things that you guys do, and that's fine. As long as you keep him safe, I'm fine with that. But when it comes to decisions around our son, this is between he and I. If he tells you what the conversation was, that's fine, but you don't get to make the decision. And that's what I always respected about my husband. He always wanted peace in the situation. He always wanted there to be peace. So he never like tried to overstep that. There were a lot of times there were things that he didn't like that my son's dad did, and he would be like, the way he's acting with your son is, I don't like it. Or he said he was coming to pick him up and now look, he's disappointed. So my husband would always try to take the role on and like take him out to play football so that he was entertained, or take him to whatever activity his dad said he was going to take him to so that he wasn't so disappointed. And there, like I said, my husband, there were times that he could have said a lot, but he just was like, I will never step in and tell you, I'll tell you how I feel, but I'm not going to tell you what to do
mhm,
because I don't feel like that's my place. And I was like, I respect that. We are partners. He's
mhm.
like, yeah, but I'm not crossing, for him, he felt like that was crossing a boundary. So,
Wow. I mean, I guess part of it is finding a good new husband that will help you,
amen.
that will help you through the process. But one thing that I'm hearing in your story, and something that kind of comes to light for me, is that often it gets difficult in the whole co-parenting and blended families because there's so much hurt
Yes.
underneath, right?
Yes.
Because I think about your situation, the way you laid it out, you could be a bitter sister sitting around
Amen,
here,
girl.
just
Amen.
the queen of pettiness. But
Amen.
I just have a feeling you probably decided to put your son kind of above those feelings, or is there something else you did? Is there some other way that you helped to that helped you to work those feelings out?
That is exactly what I did. I let my feelings about my son and like how I wanted him to, I didn't want him to feel uncomfortable. And if he always was around the two of us, like, well, in the exchange of me taking him to his dad or his dad bringing him home, if he always felt that tension and like, oh God, these two just can't even be in the same space, then I'm sure that that would make him feel uncomfortable. Um, there were times when I know that he came home and he would want to tell me like, this weekend, I had fun. I did it. And sometimes he was reluctant because he wasn't sure how I felt. So he was like gauging that temperature
Mhm.
with, let me, most kids who are raised by their mother want to make sure she's good. They don't want
Right.
to do anything to hurt her or say anything that they feel is going to hurt her. So they're very in tune to our feelings. And so they save what they really feel into themselves so that they don't hurt you. And so I didn't want him to feel like that. So I always like would say, "Oh, did you have a good time?" so that he didn't feel like he had to hold that in. "Did you have a good time this weekend? What did you guys do?" And then he slowly started to open up more. And I would say, he would say, "Oh, I like dad's girlfriend. She treats me nice. She took me to
Mhm.
do this and that." And so from that point, when I saw that she was treating him well, then listen, that's all a mom could ask for, is that when your child is not in your presence, that they're still being treated okay. That's what you want. You want to make sure the child is safe.
Agreed. I will say that from a personal perspective as well. Because when my kids, their stepmother came into the picture, it's interesting because I could tell early on, I'm like, I think she is a good person, which is
Right.
a good, I'm like, okay, that's good. And then my daughter, who was younger at the time, I used to call her Barbara Walters because, Lord, she will report the news, she will tell
Yes.
everything.
Amen.
So if there was anything that was
Oh
amiss,
my
it
gosh.
would have I know it would have come back. She's 12 now,
Listen.
so she's a little bit more closed. But
Right, right, right. Of
so I
course.
could just tell. And at the end of the day, that was the number one thing you wanted for your children, is that someone
Absolutely.
who would love them, hopefully, and care for them in your absence. So
Amen.
and it's tough because, like I said, some of us come from that place of hurt. I can't imagine you having that, the person who, in your mind, in some ways, could have been the person responsible for breaking up your engagement,
That's how I
now
felt.
having, okay, well, all right, I didn't want to assume. You're
Exactly how I felt.
sending your son to her, or, or to them, however often. So I can't imagine, there's so much hurt and pain that's underneath a lot of these relationships. And I don't know if it's therapy that sometimes we need to get ourselves in order, if it's meditation, if it's, I don't, whatever it is, yoga, you need to do it in order to make sure that there is, as your current husband says, there's peace, because that's
Right.
the, at the end of the day, that's all that really matters.
Yes, that's the truth. I mean, I think for just like you said, it's kind of like a mixture. It's a mixture of it all. There's definitely steps to it. There's definitely levels to it. And of course, with my group and the people that I'm working with, I often have to give them like that step by step. Like, it's a process. It's not easy. It's not a walk in the park. It takes time. So don't try to rush through it or think that, this person's situation is going to look like your situation or yours is going to look like theirs. So
Wonderful. Wow. What is the number one lesson that you've learned, either through your personal experience or in your work with other folks who are trying to get this blended family thing right?
so again. I really am a stickler for communication. I feel like communication is the key, and I'll say it and say it and say it and say it over and over again. Um, Communication is the key. I always feel like oftentimes, especially when you're in the midst of it all, people don't understand how important the introduction is, which is all a part of the communication. And I always say that the introduction is important, and that's how you introduce your child to this new person. That's important. You don't thrust kids into a situation like that, when you broke up with their mom yesterday. That's not okay. Or
Mhm.
last week. You give yourself time to know this person and know that they're a good person to be around your child before you make such a drastic decision like that. And also, people fail to do the second part, which is do not omit the second introduction, which is introducing them to the parent, the other parent. You co-parent with this person.
Mm.
It's important for that person to know that their child is around someone safe. Some people feel like, I don't have to tell them who I'm dating. And if it's a dating thing, knock yourself out, whatever. But when you know that it's becoming something more serious, it's
Mhm.
absolutely important to introduce your co-parent to the person that you are with. And people, I feel like that kind of goes over people's head. They're like, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm not gonna do that. So
Okay, words of wisdom. Words of wisdom from Jamie Newton Knight. I
yes.
really appreciate you taking the time and chatting with me about your experience and the lessons that you've learned with your work with other families, other women as well. So if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, Jamie, and why would they contact you nowadays and how would they find you?
So I definitely am on all the social media platforms. I'm on Instagram as Blended Black Family and the Cocoa Blend, which is like I said, I'm
Mm.
transitioning. So the Cocoa Blend is just the cooperative co-parenting blend.
Oh.
A lot of my community was saying they resonate more with the co-parenting aspect because they haven't reached the blending aspect yet.
Okay.
And so I'm in that transition. So either the Cocoa Blend or Blended Black Family, either way, you find content on both pages, and that's on Instagram as well as Facebook. On YouTube, Blended Black Family. Um, Trying to think of any other platform. LinkedIn, Jamie Newton Knight.
Send up a smoke signal, she'll
I
and
know,
say,
right?
"Oh, there you
Anything.
are." Hey.
However you wish to reach me, I'm around. Okay, I am around.
Yeah, especially when it comes to those children and the distance learning nowadays. You are around because you can't escape.
Amen. Yes, girl. So I've been having to do a lot of communicating with my community because they're struggling too. It's like, listen, yes, I'm mom, and yes, I'm trying to navigate this co-parenting thing, and because we're all in quarantine, it's hard, and
Mhm.
having to give people strategies for that, but also allowing them to understand that they could take a moment for themselves, like just so I did a slumber party last Friday, I told
Oh,
you about. And they
yes.
enjoyed that thoroughly. They were like, "Oh my God, we needed this laugh. We needed this moment. We really needed this." And so I'm just understanding more of what the community needs. And right now, while we're in quarantine, I'm trying to do more of those things, the fun stuff. So of course, some educational pieces and always putting out content, but also allowing them to unwind and have fun and feel like, we could just come to this space and just relax.
So, um, fingers crossed, prayers up. By the time this airs, hopefully quarantine will be over and it'll
Woo,
be a
child. Yes, it
just
would be awesome if it could be over.
just a memory. And they'll say, why are they talking about quarantine? We've been out of quarantine for weeks. And we could say, just, throwback to when we were in quarantine. And I,
Yes.
I hope that also that I love the idea of that slumber party. So you all make sure that you're connecting with Jamie because we want to. She's got neat things that are happening and coming up. You missed the slumber party. I did too. So I'm going to stay
There's one in
connected
June.
to see. Oh, in June. All right. What
Yeah, there'll
about
be one in
July?
June.
Because it might be July before this airs. So hopefully we'll
Yes,
continue
there'll be
this.
one in June. We're planning to do this thing until, until people are disinterested, I guess.
Okay.
But
I
the
like it.
slumber party was definitely a success. Can I leave your crew with a few little tips?
Sure. Absolutely.
So I just wanted to cover like the blend framework. I always tell the clients about the blend framework, and I feel like it's extremely helpful in helping them to learn the process of how to allow to let things go. So the B is to be honest, be real, be open with yourself and your feelings and how you feel about the situation. Oftentimes we try to pass it off like, I don't feel anything, I'm okay, I'm fine. Be honest about how you feel so that the other person is aware. You first have to say, I'm in pain, I'm hurting. Then, once you get to that part of allowing yourself to understand and know how you feel, you have to take the steps to let it go. So you're going to learn to heal and let it go. Then expect resistance and acceptance. Some people are going to say, okay, well, you're ready to move on and you want to co-parent, better. I'm cool with that. And some people are like, oh, you ready, but now I'm not.
Hmm.
So you can either come across two different situations. So expect that, expect that. Then I want you to learn to negotiate. Of course, this situation is going to be a space where it's like you got to give a little and you got to take a little. Some of it is going to be what you want. Some of it is not going to be what you want. Some of it has to be what they want as well. And then the final thing is D, don't rush the process. It's a process and it takes time. So just make sure that you allow yourself some grace and and you just don't rush the process. That's pretty much it. So thank you for letting me share those tips.
No problem. Those tips are always helpful, especially for those of us who are going through the process. And it's not a short term process either. I think that's another thing I heard that it's not like, oh, okay, this is it. And, 3 months and then, oh, now we're blended. It's all. So
Not at all.
there are probably ebbs and flows and also constant renegotiation in terms of what happens and how to operate.
Absolutely.
So, well, thank you so much once again, Jamie Newton Knight, for being my guest.
Thank you for having me, Sia.
No problem. And that's it, everyone, for this episode of Lessons in Savvy Living. Until next time, guys, stay savvy. Bye.